All right, hopefully this one's long enough. Now, this is to Hythloday, which I didn't put Hythloday in the title, but it has willpower in the title, so that's like a dog whistle. If he sees my video title, that he should know it's to him. He doesn't put my name in videos that then he says, oh, it's a question to Pyro. He probably says Pyro, whatever, I don't really know. Okay, couple things here on willpower. Okay, I want to roll back a little bit. I understand. See, there's this tradition, Greek philosophy, phenomena and noumena. So the noumena is, or the noumena, is what's really out there, the thing in itself. It's not really necessarily from the Greeks. Arguably, that's the Greek perspective on it, but not necessarily. I think the Greek perspective is more like what's causing the phenomena. But that could be my interpretation. Anyway, the whole idea of the thing in itself as a phenomena is a Kant thing, so that should ring a bell. And the phenomena is how we experience it. The phenomena is the film strip. The phenomena, in my mind, is whether it exists or not, open question. It's a theory. Interesting. I spend a lot of time theorizing with the rest of you about it. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a level separated from the film strip. The phenomena. All right. Now, when we talk about willpower, it's something we have this experience of, and I would say it's the experience of making choices, what appear to be choices. You say, Hythloday, that is an illusion. We're having an experience, we interpret it as this thing we call a choice, and the fact that it's a choice is an illusion. The experience still happens, but our feeling that we could go through this door or that door, that's an illusion. We were fated from time immemorial to domino into the one door or the other, and there was no chance that it could be either door. We just didn't know which it was going to be. So first of all, my point is, and we're backing up to like themes, is that illusions exist. The whole point of that motto, why I named that, the hangout after that, is because you can't say that something doesn't exist, and meaning it doesn't have to be looked into because you've decided it was an illusion. You figured out enough for it to be an illusion. For example, let's say I'm a creature I'm just awake at the sunrise. You come and tell me the sun doesn't actually rise. You don't tell me what's really going on. You just say, look, you think the sunrise is where the god drives a fire chariot across the sky. That's an illusion. It doesn't happen. And then you leave. Let's say I believe you, which is unlikely since I would need, it's like, but whatever. Let's say I believe you. You're very convincing. And I'm like, it's an illusion. That doesn't change anything because I have no other choice. I have no other model to understand this sunrise, which is the period that I'm awake. I sleep the rest of the day, other than as the sun rising. You say it's not a god in a chariot. Okay, maybe I can visualize, well, it's a light going across the sky. I guess there's no god there. But still, I'm wrong because the earth is moving and that hasn't occurred to me. I have no information about that. But I have no other model. So there's no other model until you come along and say, look, you're on an earth. It's actually spherical. It's rotating. You're swinging into the light of the sun. The sun is, in this respect, staying still for all intents and purposes, and you're swinging around into its light. Once you tell me that, and I believe that as well, then I have an alternate model. It could be wrong. It could be wrong. Maybe a god was moving the sun. Could be. But once I believe it, at least I have an alternate model. If you don't even give me that alternate model, I have to take this seriously. It's a kind of compatibilism. Even if I believe you, there is no free will, everything's determined, there is no willpower. All I really have is my experiences of choice, and you haven't given me another model. The point of illusions exist is you still have to explain the illusion. If it was just something that was common because of the nature of our discussion, you should explain it. It's common. It needs to be explained. You can't just like wipe it away because, oh, it's not as it seems, so pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. You have to explain it just out of common courtesy. But this is way more than that. This is something in every single frame. I myself am the fact that all these frames are related. Whatever relates these frames, that's how I would discover what I supposedly am. And there might be a better idea of what explaining that could be, but all I have is this data. So I'm going to have to use this data to explain what I am, and what I am is the thing that's in every single frame. The bias that's in every frame, if you could subtract out all the frames and leave just the bias, that would be me. And here's the thing. People struggle emotionally. They struggle through difficult times in their lives. They think this might be good for them, but they can't find the willpower. Or they find the willpower to do something because they're driven to do it because something in them tells them that that would be in their own good, and they do accomplish it, and it turns out to not be for the good. Or they're once again trying the same thing, thinking, well, this time it'll work, but knowing it didn't work last time, and fooling themselves, or thinking, maybe I'm fooling myself, and maybe they weren't fooling themselves. They did need to try it again, and this time it would work. And all of this confusion is related to our emotional health and our emotional state and what we have to work through at any given moment, right? We have emotional struggles, we call that. An emotional struggle. Now, this illusion of making choices, well, if you don't work hard to improve your ability to make choices in line with what makes you less miserable and more happy, more satisfied, if you do not struggle and do that, it won't turn out as well. When you tell people something is an illusion, see, if you explain the illusion, look, here's how the illusion works, then people might have an explanation of why they should go ahead and work hard on being more responsible in this way, or being nicer to these kinds of people, or not having that overcharged reaction. The kinds of things you try to, and I know you have done, to work on your own reactions to things. If you have no reason to do that, then you're going to suffer, because we know from the film strip that when you do exercise your will gets stronger, and it seems as though you can make yourself make better choices. Sometimes they're not better choices, but then you learn a better lesson, and it leads to better choices, this process. And if you just call it an illusion without explaining the illusion, then you're actually robbing people from the real point of philosophy, which is how to use thinking to make your life better. And so I want to bring it to this humane level of people struggling to use their will better. Or like Mel's basket case is an example. So she's schizophrenic, she hears voices. And you know, should she still believe in theism, or maybe she should doubt it? When she's thinking about how to use her willpower, it appears to make a real difference in her life. Now, the other thing is, your idea that it's an illusion actually makes one of the biggest mysteries of life more complicated. And that's the hard problem of consciousness. Okay, so everybody, the hard problem of consciousness versus the easy, which is kind of a joke that it's easy, but it's easy for us now. The easy problem of consciousness. The easy problem of consciousness is how could something behave like a human being or a living creature or an animal, a dog even? How could it behave like that? We can imagine that evolution, whatever the means of it, it's hard to imagine all the means of evolution, but could lead to that for the simple reason that we can imagine building a robot that behaved like a human being. A robot that, even if it wasn't really a human being, if you looked real close, you could figure out, or you could trick it into, true is false or whatever. You could figure it out, but it passes for human. So we can imagine a bunch of chemicals and things acting human, boom, acting as if it might be conscious. We can imagine that. And if you can't, fine, it's still the easier thing than the hard problem, which is why do we have it in our head? Why do I have this extra, like, I'm experiencing the film strip? Why? Do you think a computer has the data of all this video that's going like in my eye? Okay, I'm looking at the screen right now. I'm seeing other screens. The computer, it's all in the computer. Do you think the computer has a first person perspective of, ooh, what's he going to do next? Because I don't. Now you could ask, how do I know it doesn't? Well, I'm a skeptic. That means I don't prefer to say that I know it doesn't, but I will tell you why I think it doesn't. I think it doesn't because it has none of the appearances of an organic behavior of likes and dislikes. It lacks the emotions and the things that are probably related to that. Maybe a program could be written that would give it all of those appearances, and still we would have the hard problem of why would it have it on the inside? Let's say I made a clockwork, and it's a clock, but it's more than a clock. It's got so many settings and things, and I can type words in, and the gears can turn and correct my spelling. It's like maybe a complete Turing machine, these gears, plus, plus, plus. It's like so complicated, all of these gears. And doing anything I imagine a human being doing in terms of thinking, or even walking. Howl's Moving Castle, it also knows how to walk. None of that. Why would it have this internal, this hard thing to explain, the so-called Cartesian theater? Right, I feel sometimes some of you guys are saying that we don't have that. It's an illusion that we have our own Cartesian theater. I've got my own Cartesian theater. I'm looking at the computer right now, and you have your own Cartesian theater. You're not online as far as I know. You're doing something. You're looking at your dog. You can smell your dog because it just licked you in the face or something. Some great experience. Different from mine, but similar in that you have your own film strip. That's what it looks like to me. But I don't think a waterfall or a storm system that's super complex, and probably you could calculate it has the same complexity as a mouse brain or something, whatever. I don't see that it has this internal experience. And if I did think it had the external experience, since I think that parameciums do, it still remains to be explained how that's possible. What phenomena? I mean, when we start fires at a campsite, I understand a little bit, and other scientists, people that are scientists and chemists, understand a lot more about it. And boom, the fire starts up. Okay, there was no fire, then we had a spark. We started the fire, energy transfer, chain reaction, boom. What's the spark of the chain reaction that starts this internal thing? Plus, to summarize this, here's some truisms. Truisms just by looking at nature the way we already look at it, but making some sentences that people don't normally mention. I'm a physical phenomenon. I'm happening at my location in space. Therefore, I am the universe at my location in space. I am actually just what's happening at this location in the universe. My location in the universe happens to have this chemical reaction with nerves and sinews and triggering muscles and all the rest. Right? So what I feel is what the universe is feeling at this location. Other locations, I believe you also have feelings. Gary has feelings. So all of those locations, they're also how the universe feels, but at their location. Since we have space to separate us, the universe could feel different at your location than it feels at my location. Does everybody follow that? So I'm how the universe is feeling at my location. And that means the universe can feel at locations. How? That's the question. Well, it's having to do with some chemical process. And you can't really, from that point of view, go, it doesn't exist. You can say it's determined, but it seems to be choice phenomena, but you haven't answered yet. You haven't answered the hard problem. Why is it that the universe can have a feeling? The fact that the universe in my location thinks it has choices and it doesn't, that's interesting. But it's totally secondary to how the fuck is the universe having feelings at my location, right? So that's what I would like answered. Thanks. Oh, we got some comments, or maybe they're left over from the other thing. Let's see. Oh, it looks like a carryover from the last thing. Oh, hey, Infinity. You guys are all watching my last video. Assholes. So spiritual. Let's do it live. Okay, bye.